Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Veronica Cineris, and I am the founder of LymphyStrong. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk to us about the importance of the lymphedema toolbox. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply interested in, because it's by having a robust set of tools that we can navigate our path and living with lymphedema much better. For the last 3 years, she has served as co-admin and copy editor of the global support and advocacy community known as LymphyStrong. Our speaker, although having spent the last few years in France and Italy, is Danish of origin and is fluent in multiple languages. She's a board member in the Danish Lymphedema Association, DALYFO, representing the patients in the Danish lymphedema framework. An EPAG co-chair in the Pediatric and Primary Lymphedema Working Group of LE&RN, which is a European reference network on rare multisystemic vascular diseases, and a delegate in the technical scientific community of ITALF, which is part of the Italian lymphedema framework. Above all, she is compassionate and tireless in her efforts to serve the lymphatic community worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Pernille Henriksen.
Until a few years ago, I've never heard about a lymphedema toolbox. What's more to lymphedema than a diagnosis and a badly fitted stocking? Hi. My name is Pernille, and this is my awesome toolbox. It all started in my teenage years with intermittent swelling. My mother told me I was eating too many salty snacks, but it only seemed to affect one leg. The first GP I consulted with this problem told me to take herbal supplements and do a bit of tapping with the feet. 3 years later, as my lymphedema had clearly not been cured, I consulted another doctor who sent me off to the nearest hospital with a suspected thrombosis. There, they diagnosed me with primary lymphedema and sent me home with nothing more than the diagnosis and a thick, flat-knit, knee-high stocking. Negligence, denial, and ignorance on my side, and lack of knowledge of lymphedema with the healthcare professionals I met resulted in my lymphedema getting worse. I was wearing incorrect stockings. I had flare-ups, pressure sores, maceration, thickening of the skin, and lymphorrhea. I was hospitalized several times with cellulitis, with a discharge that did not include any decongestant treatment plan, no advice on how to manage it better. As my leg got bigger and complications increased, I was desperate to find a solution. So in June of 2017, I decided to attend the International Lymphedema Framework Conference in Siracusa, Italy. As I sat there listening to all the knowledgeable experts and passionate therapists who had dedicated their careers to patients with lymphedema like myself, a light bulb went on. I finally realized that this was my lymphedema and this was my life, and I needed to do something about it. And so this was really the start of my journey. And these are the things I've learned along the way and put in my toolbox. I have 4 dedicated spaces in my toolbox. The first one is physical activity. The second is skincare. And the third is compression. And the fourth, holding it all together, is the patient community and the amazing therapist who supports us. And then, of course, the 100 other things I do for my leg. In December of 2017, I enrolled in a fitness challenge in a Facebook group called LymphyStrong Running and Fitness Club for Lymphedema. The challenge was a 5-kilometer walk or run, and I did this with a group of my friends. We raised a bit of money for LE&RN and had a delicious lunch afterwards. It was the first of many challenges that I have entered, And I do it to keep myself accountable and benefit from the encouragement and the love of the community of like-minded. Previously, I had shied away from exercising because often when I did exercise, I had flare-ups and even infections. But I realized that it was because I was not wearing adequate and suitable compression. Once I understood this was the problem, I had been able to explore many different types of physical activities. The type of exercise I like are walking, because it's easy and it's sociable, and obviously my dog, they love them. Rebounding, because it's fun and I can even do it with a big bandage on. And I like yoga because it allows me to really stretch and focus on my breathing. And swimming. Something that I absolutely hated before is now my absolute preferred type of exercise. My leg loves it. One reason why I hated swimming was because I had to get undressed and expose my leg. I feared everybody would look at it and wonder what I had, and so I didn't go. But now I have devised a meticulous system for both going to the pool and to the seaside. Besides jumping the mental barrier of fearing people's looks, there is this issue around compression garments. I swim without, to fully enjoy the benefits of the massaging effects of the water. As the environment in an indoor pool can be hot and humid and the skin damp after swimming, it can be difficult to don the compression stocking. So these are my tricks. I take a quick shower after swimming. So this is no spa experience and there is no washing hair, because I want to avoid unnecessary time without compression. I then dry my leg carefully and apply an aloe vera gel. Then I use an old stocking that I can then change as I get home. I bring a little mat to stand on and my donning gloves as well. I choose the days of the week and the times where there is the least amount of people. This makes the whole experience so much more comfortable for me, both in the changing rooms and in the pool. I think it's important to find a type of exercise that is suitable for your lymphedema, but also for you as a person. Exercise is not only beneficial for our lymphatic health, but also for our overall and mental health. Swimming helps me with all of these. Previously, I had not realized or acknowledged how important skincare is. I never moisturized, and it showed, a welcome sign for complications. I now moisturize twice a day with an aloe vera gel before donning my daytime garment and a thicker cream for my nighttime bandaging routine. But it's not only the lotions and potions that help keep my skin in a good condition. It's also my attention to any cracks, thickening of the skin, or even ingrown hair. All things that can lead to complications for me and aggravate my lymphedema. Recently, I had a wound that just would not heal. After a month in pain, trying all the different things the pharmacist would throw at me, I consulted a nurse specializing in lymphedema. She treated me with just the right products and it healed. I can only do so much myself, and I have luckily found trusted healthcare professionals that helps me now. But my most adored tool in my toolbox is compression. I love the feeling of support that it gives my leg. It's like a big hug. For more than 20 years, I would hide my leg under white trousers, but now I'm flaunting my compression. Previously, I was prescribed circular knit, and when I moved into flat knit, it was such a significant difference. It contains my edema much better, and my leg feels less heavy after a long day. Adding flat knit made-to-measure toe caps was the icing on the lymphedema cake. My toes love them. I personally layer with additional stockings and wraps according to my day and my activities. I've seen it's important to not stay complacent with the same compression for my lymphedema. I need to keep it under tight supervision, otherwise it will have a field day. But my preferred time of the day is when I bandage my leg getting ready for bed. It was a game changer to add night compression to my routine. My swelling does not go down with simple elevation. Those few nights where I've been lazy, I woke up during the night with an unruly leg. In the morning, I can see and feel the tissues more filled. So it's just not worth it. Why work hard on reducing and maintaining all day long and letting it go at night? I started bandaging 4 years ago, and I continue to alter my technique. I modify to the mood of my leg and to the seasons. I incorporate new materials and learn from those who generously share their tips and tricks. In the beginning, I would rebandage 3 or 4 times a day. Not only because my leg was reducing and I kept altering the bandage, but also as I learned where to apply more or less pressure, where to add more or different bits of foam, and to accommodate for an active or sedative day. The knowledgeable lymphedema therapists I have met have helped and supported me. Learning how to bandage was a much bigger job than anticipated, but it has been worth it. So now I can manage my lymphedema much better on a daily basis. One of the struggles I have is my ankle. I found that layering a piece of foam which is ridged with a harder piece of foam when I bandage seems to distribute the edema much better rather than just pushed it above the ankle. It takes some trial and error to find out what works best for the edema. When I'm not careful with my weight, my stocking does not fit me as well, especially behind the knee. So I add a piece of soft foam to avoid the rubbing. I also do that underneath my bandage. My leg prefers a bandage when I travel, but sometimes the traveling plans, they change. I try not to let that stop me from taking good care of my leg. And here I am in a rental car on the way to the airport and stopping to make a bandage on my leg. I live in Italy and it gets really hot, which my leg does not like. As the temperature rises, I see my leg swell more. So I have found a few things to manage this. I use a cast covering for showering, both with my bandages on, but also to avoid removing my stocking if I'm going out in the evening. It's also very useful for when I'm going through CDT sessions. And in the summer, after showering, it can be difficult to don a stocking, or even after exercising. So I use a fan to cool down the leg. It makes it much easier to don the compression stocking. I also have a cooling mat for dogs that I use when it gets really hot. I'm always on the lookout for new ideas to manage my lymphedema and fill my toolbox. And I do this with the help of the amazing community I belong to. Connecting with other patients, both online and in real life, to exchange ideas and support has been fundamental. I've been able to find numerous new ways and courage to manage my lymphedema with their help. It has been invaluable to me, not just as a patient, but also as a person. We lift each other up on the bad days and cheer each other on for every centimeter reduced and every stocking unboxed. There is nothing more satisfying than finding people who understand you and want to talk as much about lymphedema as you do. My husband is really not that bothered about wrapping techniques. And as you see, this is the way he puts away the laundry. This journey has led me to become not only my own advocate, but also fight for the rights of the other patients via the Danish Patient Association, and also to represent the patient's voice in Europe via my position in the working group of pediatric and primary lymphedema in the European Reference Network, LE&RN. And the last 2 years, I have been collaborating with more than 25 patient associations across Europe to raise awareness of lymphedema. And the more we connect, the more we can raise awareness and build an even stronger patient community. So what can you do? Well, you can join a national patient association or just follow them on social media. Share the material they develop with your healthcare providers. Participate in the activities and the call to actions that they organize. You can join an online patient community and share your own journey and learnings to help and support other patients like me. You can educate yourself about lymphedema, the type of complications, and how to reduce these risks by joining webinars and patient-focused conferences like this one. The more we know, the better advocates we can become for ourselves and for other patients. There might not be a cure tomorrow, but we can work together on putting lymphedema on the world map. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that presentation. That was excellent. As someone like myself with lower extremity lymphedema, it's so nice to hear from someone else who shares their experience. And as I'll just say this again, this is sharing your personal experience. This is not a medical recommendation for anybody that's watching today. All right, so this is a pre-recorded question and answer just because Pernille is over in Europe and the time change makes it a little difficult for this to be live. So we had received some questions and I'll start with Pernille, do you yourself do MLD, manual lymph drainage?
Yeah, so just want to say first, thank you so much for having invited me and for being able to share my story. It's very important for me, and so thank you for this. So manual lymphatic drainage, so I have sessions every year with a therapist. I go through a few weeks where my therapist work specifically on my foot and my ankle, my toes and my foot in general. And she gets really good results with reducing my foot and my toes so I can get into new toe caps. But on a daily basis, I find that a good bandage and exercise works very well for me.
Great. Great. Yeah, it's different as we've learning, it's different for everybody. So that's wonderful. Another question, and this is, I'm interested in your answer, is do you struggle finding shoes? Because that's a big issue and it's all over social media, questions about finding shoes. Where do you buy your shoes? Yeah,
so first of all, I have really big feet. So, so that's one problem for me. And then of course you have one lymphedema foot, you know, which is extra big with the extra ankle, the extra toes, and you have a compression. So that also puts additional strain on getting the right footwear. Also because then you have the other foot, which is slim. Right. So I often have to go into the men's section to see if there is anything nice there. And if not, I have actually found a few shoes on Amazon that I get. And luckily also sneakers are in fashion. So this has helped me also in this period for sure.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I think Zappos.com is a popular site for shoes, and I do the same. And I'm fortunately I'm a nurse, so I wear a lot of sneakers at work, but it's a very big issue. How do you manage your mental health through all of this? Because it's such an emotional toll for all of us and our family members. What do you do for yourself?
Yeah, so at one point during my journey, I was so focused on my lymphedema. I was so focused on my treatment. Every single day, I would measure myself. I would, do all these different kind of things, and I would be really upset if I hadn't had good results, or I would be, really ecstatic if I did have it. But the problem was that it was just taking over too much of my time and too much of my mental health. So at one point, I kind of said to myself, okay, I have to stop micromanaging my leg, because it's not good for me as a person. It's not good for my family, and so it's not even good for my leg, for my lymphatic health. So I had to kind of step back and said to myself, okay, I might have to give a little bit on the swelling, but on the other hand, I will be a happy patient.
Right, right. One person wrote in that they were new to lymphedema, and where would you start if you're new to lymphedema and trying to figure this all out?
Yeah, I mean, being new, of course, it's just like a huge world to discover about lymphedema. And I would say that start with connecting with other patients, as I said before, and then just take little by little some of the advice that they give, and then perhaps try to take like one theme at a time. So just look at perhaps the compression, then you look at if you were looking into pneumatic pumps, if to manual lymphatic drainage. So just take it like one theme at a time, and just take little bit by little bit, and then you can build on your knowledge, and then of course, yeah, connecting with other patients both online and also in real life will help you.
Right. And I think, the biggest challenge is finding someone a clinician who knows what you have and acknowledges it, and finding a certified lymphedema therapist is the biggest challenge. There are, as Vern introduced you, you are very involved and a co-coordinator and manager of the Lymphy Strong website with Veronica and myself here in Boston. Myself and Lisa Palin are the co-chairs of the Lymphatic Education and Research Network local chapter here in Boston. And that is a great resource for finding chapters throughout the United States and internationally. Yeah. And that's a great resource. So please, we're not alone, as you're finding out. So
yeah, but also on the LE&RN website, there's great resources. There's the 10 things you need to know about lymphedema, 10 things you want your therapist to know about lymphedema. And I mean, these materials are already there, and really we should be using it, because it's not, people have been going through it before.
Right, exactly. Let's not recreate the wheel. It's already been being created. Oh, this is fantastic. I leak from my legs sometimes. I leak lymph fluid, someone wrote in. How do you manage that? Do you experience that, Pernille?
Yeah, I do. And the first time it happened to me, I was in tears. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do about it. And I just saw how suddenly my toe cap was just all wet, and I didn't realize exactly what it was. And so since then, I tried to find out what it was and how to manage it better. And so I found that I still get it sometimes, especially when my leg is like overloaded. But having the right compression has helped me a lot. And then when it happens, I try to keep my skin as dry as possible. I might bandage my toes, because it comes from just at the end of the foot into the toes. So I can change my bandage more often compared to having toe caps. Then I might use like a little piece of gauze or something, and then I use a barrier cream to prevent skin breakdown.
Okay, great. So let me understand, that's not a moisturizing cream, but that is like a barrier cream to help protect that moisture. And
yes, so it really does. Yeah, it protects the skin from any moisture and the lymphatic fluid. Yes.
Right. And I've learned this as a nurse here in Boston, for that to protect that moisture so it doesn't just settle on the skin. It's almost, think about using, if you're at home and you have all that moisture on your skin, you have to change your bandages and frequently. You could use actually a diaper. A diaper is the right technology. It's the right kind of padding to put against your skin, because it's wicking. It wicks the moisture away and it holds it in the padding. So think about that if you're at home trying to deal with all that moisture. And I think we discussed this earlier. You change your garments, you buy new garments, compression stockings about every 6 months.
Yeah, I try to buy it every 6 months. Yeah, and I look very well after them. I wash them specifically by themselves and I'm very careful with the detergent, and I dry them carefully, because of course they're expensive and I want to get them to last the longest as possible. But yeah, every 6 months I invest in new compression garments.
It's an investment, yes. Boy, I'll tell you. A couple of things I know you and I have talked about this offline is, and these are important to me, so I'm going to take some of your time if you don't mind. For people with lower limb lymphedema, the garments for me, my thigh-high garments, I'm in compression 24/7. They don't always stay up and snug on my thigh. So I use something, this product happens to be from Jobst. It's not, there's other products out there. It's called It Stays. I buy it online and it stays. My stocking does not drop down. I'm not constantly pulling up through the day. I'm a nurse in a busy unit, and I wouldn't be able to function if my stocking was bothering me all day. So it's a skin adhesive, and it explains how to use it. I use this every day of my life. I also have a lot of bandages when I'm wrapping, and this is something I bought offline, and it's called the wrench wrap or something. And it, oh, the batteries aren't in it, but it wraps, battery operated, and it helps you with wrapping your wraps each night. I find that extremely helpful. I also use something called moleskin padding that I buy at a local department store, local pharmacy, drugstore, and that helps me with the tender spots on my feet, where my toe cap is on the side of your foot, or where there's a tight spot that might be rubbing on your ankle. And I wear that almost every day, where there's a tight spot that's rubbing on my feet that might get irritated. So those are just my little tips.
That's a good tip. I'm going to take that one.
Yeah, it's life-saving for me. Absolutely. This, and again, I'm not promoting any products here. This is a used thing. This is what it looks like, moleskin padding. And it's simply felt. It's a piece of felt with adhesive on it. And I go through them quite often. So thank you so much. I think our time is up. And Pernille, we thank you so much from near Milan, Italy. You've been a pleasure, and we appreciate your valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.